public admin entity. Another one was a recent project we handed and launched about 2 months ago, rural community in Guamatiba, 45 rural households. You can see the grid, electricity grid layout. Maybe it's not very clear, but this is out in the Eastern Cape with 45 rural households that we had. It is 45, not 54. We set up a small-scale hydropower, a turbine on the other side of about 500, 600 meters, 700 meters waterfall to enable the community to have irrigation and drinking water. The project was successfully launched, but now this, if done properly, could also become a tourist attraction because of the geography of the area. But we then need to work with this innovation in partnership with Department of Tourism to build a community opportunity for tourism infrastructure in that particular area. And another one, also smart geyser, enabling communities in Mkondo to track and manage water and energy consumption for the geyser on a mobile app using their own handheld device to track some of what you call consumption and be able to switch on or off and read in real time monetary value of how their consumption on energy is happening at a household level. Very exciting with MTN involved, Western Cape, and also a number of plumbers who were trained, creating inclusivity and opportunities for entrepreneurship and income. Another project that I'm sharing with you is a flagship project we have in partnership with Potsdam University, KZN, Department of Human Settlements, Nelson Mandela, Dlambe, Port Alfred Municipality, DSI, and other government departments, a multi-stakeholder partnership program to showcase how at a small scale we could set up off-grid a settlement so that we can respond to climate change. We are very excited about this. At the center of this initiative also is about neighborhood development and creating a multi-purpose innovation center to enable the entire neighborhood to develop, but to create opportunities for the unemployed. Some of the technologies we are showcasing in that EcoSan Green Village and off-grid settlements, which we believe could be a blueprint for the country, but also become a game changer for other municipalities to look at how do you then set out of the grid a number of settlements so that we don't have what you call much pressure on infrastructure at a municipal level. So there are a number of technologies that we are showcasing there: grey water, underground water storage, mini grid, solar water heaters, photovoltaic panels, thermal ceilings, a whole lot as you see them listed here. Others we're doing them as phase 1, others we're doing them as phase 2. In partnership with University of Johannesburg, we are very proud also to pilot and test 3D printing in built environment in houses. Could this be a game changer in terms of quality of houses that the government could produce? Could these machines be a game changer in terms of upgrading informal settlements? We are testing these 3D printing machine, looking at localization opportunities, and the UJ in partnership with KwaZulu-Natal Department, looking at policy implications, social acceptability, social acceptance of these technologies will be tested, and the use of local materials and the value chain around these technologies. Now, in closing, I just want to share with you projects that we are doing on what we call the innovation, Innovation Service Delivery Program, ISDP. So here we are validating with some good funding from the European Commission technologies. But look at the statistics here. We released an expression of interest from municipalities to raise their hands if they've got challenges where they believe technology and innovation could play a role. And we received about 108 applications across 5 projects, very interesting. But the other interesting project was around e-participation and policy modeling in the context of COVID, where people are no longer able sometimes to gather in big numbers. How can we use ICTs to enable e-participation and policy modeling, but also decision support tools, as you see in this particular statistics. So the project has just started, but we are very proud about it. Other initiatives, I'm not gonna share all of them. Community Wireless Network, a corporate-owned broadband network where we're looking at franchise model to enable to expand this in deep rural Eastern Cape, where communities would otherwise not have access to internet, have got access to very reliable internet. Schools are being connected, and SMMEs in those rural areas are able now to have access. So we are very proud, but we want to roll this thing out. In schools, our other flagship program was technology in schools with servers, connectivity, and satellite, the use of hydrogen fuel cells in schools. And recently, we also have tested and demonstrated off-grid sanitation technologies, the next sanitation technologies in Slovoville. You see it here, the clear technology and the new generation technology that is reusing water from the flush toilet, but also using solar to treat that water so that we reuse, but have nutrients and other byproducts coming out of this. Caltech in Banana City is another one. We installed this innovative sanitation technology. It's an off-grid PV-powered domestic toilet system with waste water treatment system right on site. You can see that black box next to the container there. So we were piloting to test, how will these technologies perform under stress and in real life application. This is informal settlements in Durban, and that's the inside part of the Caltech technology. WRC is here. I'm sure they will expand a bit better. Now, to close my presentation, we have embarked on assessing innovation performance in municipalities. We call it the Municipal Innovation Maturity Index, to assess how matured are municipalities in embracing, managing, and adopting technologies to improve. So we're looking at the 3 constructs around management support, around individual behaviors, and other organizational processes. Our first report has come out nationally, which shows a picture of how municipalities along those 3 constructs that you see, rated at a scale of 1 to 5, and 5 being advanced, how are they performing to enable innovation, to support innovation, etc. So we've got a report that we have issued, and we want to continue assessing municipalities and encouraging municipalities to embrace technology. Right. We believe there is a need for experimentation to create policy instruments, to create a space and an environment to introduce these technologies, societal experimentation, a whole of government, a whole of society approach, so that we can use innovation to deliver services. We believe the One Plan and the district development model is a perfect environment for South Africa to drive an entrepreneurial country, but also to drive an entrepreneurial state, where procurement levers could be used to deliver services that are using innovation and technologies developed from South Africa. We've got a number of instruments already that are helping with South African technologies for service delivery to be out there. One instrument is the Technology Acquisition and Deployment Fund. And so we are very happy, but we feel there is a whole lot to be done from a policy perspective to create an enabling environment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Musia. And I'd like to congratulate the department on implementing all these initiatives and projects, which has created opportunities and clearly assisted in solving service delivery problems in many of the areas that you gave examples of. And we will definitely speak about this later in the question and answer session. Our next speaker is Professor Mampwele, and he is currently the Director for the Center of Renewable and Sustainable Energy Studies at Stellenbosch University. He holds an MSc degree from the University of Venda and a PhD from the University of Fort Hare. Professor Mampwele also possesses a number of certificates in renewable energy, and he's an established active researcher and has raised funding and implemented a considerable number of renewable energy projects in the Eastern Cape during his time at the University of Fort Hare. His primary area of research is biomass gasification and biogas digesters. He is also a member of a number of committees that deal with renewable energy, issues at national government level. Thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to your presentation.
Thank you. I was struggling with something there to unmute myself. I've managed to now. Can you all see my presentation?
Thank you.
Okay. Now, thanks a lot, and thanks for inviting me. Mine is going to be just a single project that we're doing. I'm director at the Center for Renewable and Sustainable Energy Studies. I'm also running the DSI's Renewable and Sustainable Energy Research Hub and Spokes program from Stellenbosch University. So we're doing a lot of work on behalf of the department. So the project that I'm going to talk about is under the DSI's Research Hub and Spokes program. And the aim of this program is to develop renewable energy research capacity within the national system of innovation using the Hub and Spokes model. And that model is a collaborative model which recognizes and supports distribution of research capacity and expertise within the national system of innovation at the various universities and science councils. The hub deals with the funding, the reporting and coordination of various activities. The spokes are the paired institutions that focus on specific areas of research. At the bottom here, I have a graphic that shows the hub and the 3 spokes that we currently have. We have the solar thermal spoke that is shared between Stellenbosch University and the University of Pretoria, where we're doing high temperature solar thermal systems. And then we have the solar photovoltaic spoke that is shared between Nelson Mandela University and University of Fort Hare in the Eastern Cape. They deal with characterization of various solar PV modules, as well as research that has got to do with manufacturing of some of the solar panels. We have the wind spoke that is shared between Stellenbosch University and University of Cape Town. That's dealing mainly with the development of wind generator systems, forecasting of wind control systems in the wind energy space as well. So the example project that I'm going to talk about is a project that we are implementing that is fully funded by the DSI at Masia Village. We have a kick-off meeting for the project with the Deputy Minister on the 8th of this month, which is next week. So what we're looking at here is to use the various technologies that come from the DSI programs to implement the water, energy and food nexus project to create job opportunities and provide service to the community. The project takes the form of a district development model that Sepang talked about. I'm not going to go into the actual model, but it's got the potential of being implemented and impacting at having a big impact at district level. The project is fully sponsored by the DSI, as I indicated before, and it involves the installation of a hydrogen fuel cell, which is a 5 kilowatt hydrogen fuel cell with an on-site electrolyzer to produce green hydrogen. And then we have a 1 kilowatt PV system, CPV system, and a 20 kilowatt solar PV system as well. The CPV system is a technology that came out of our research activities with Nelson Mandela University. The hydrogen fuel cell was developed by University of Pretoria, and the electrolyzer is coming from the Hydrogen South Africa at Northwest University. So We work with a number of other institutions as well that are outside the actual hub and spokes model, as long as they have publicly funded IP that is coming out of the DSI programs. We also plan to train farmers on food production using tunnels. There will also be the training for TVET college graduates on business development and running of the various energy systems, which revolves around youth entrepreneurship. Yes. And then we have a number of postgraduate students that will also conduct research using the various systems installed. So what we are looking at is the creation of a multi-purpose kind of innovation center with strong focus on agriculture, fund that is powered mainly by renewable energy and the hydrogen fuel cell. So the various partners in the project, they involve the Department of Science and Innovation, the Agricultural Research Council, the DSI's Renewable and Sustainable Energy Hub at Stellenbosch University, Masia Traditional Authority, Bambili Advisory, which is a company that is dealing with the fuel cells in South Africa, the IP from South Africa. University of Venda is also involved with the stakeholder engagement and things like that. Nelson Mandela University, South African National Energy Development Institute, SANEDI, and the National Youth Development Agency that's dealing with the business development on site. And then this is kind of a graphic of what we plan to do at the site. We're looking at an off-grid smart control and monitoring system. That's why we have students involved, we've got interns involved. We plan to have the energy part of things, which involve the electrolyzer, the hydrogen fuel cell, the 1 kilowatt CPV system. There's also a 20 kilowatt solar PV system that has got an MLT inverter that is not appearing here. And then we'll have some battery storage. So basically we'll have the energy input into the various systems that will then, we will be powered, and then we will use the hydroponics tunnels for vegetable production, and we will have a vegetable production and seedling production system that we will then have the business development aspect, and the vegetable and the seedlings will then be taken to the market by the young people who will be trained to run the business side of things. And over and above that, there will be some energy monitoring, some temperature monitoring, some prioritization in terms of the energy provision to the various systems on site. And we will then do production training on the agriculture side using the site. And basically the farmers who will be coming from that particular region will have an opportunity to come and get training on site that will be conducted by the Agricultural Research Council. The idea is basically to roll this out to other communities after we have tested the model. We have at the moment employed an on-site project manager and project administrator. We have employed 6 interns and 4 students working on this particular project. Thank you.
Oops. Thank you very much for your presentation. And I must say that it's very obvious that transdisciplinary approach to working together, or can I say multi-university approach and other organization, is really a win-win situation here. And it's very nice to see this. Sorry, I saw that my camera wasn't off. Our next speaker is then Professor Lepatsi. Now, Professor Lepatsi is a Fulbright Fellow and is a Group Executive Manager in the Water Research Commission and an adjunct professor at the University of Venda. He is the Water Research Commission's research and development portfolio that produces new knowledge and innovation for the water and sanitation sector. He has also worked in academic and agricultural sectors before joining the WRC. He has held various positions in local and international organizations and has authored and co-authored several journal publications and book chapters. Once again, really an academic at heart that we have here presenting to us. I hand over to Prof. Lipatsi to give his presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. I hope you can see my presentation.
Yes, we can see your presentation. If you can just put it in presenter mode, please.
Like it went back to that 2-slide mode.
Well, it's fine on our side now. Thank you very much.
Or is it fine on your side?
Yes, it's looking great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the time and the opportunity actually to present the work that we do at the Water Research Commission. And I also want to acknowledge my fellow speakers, participants as well. So Mr. Musia actually touched on some of the work that we have partnered or we collaborated on in terms of implementing and also demonstrating for the benefit of the society. So I would want actually to take from where he left off and maybe add some of the examples as well of the work that we do to support the service delivery in water and sanitation. So I'll start by talking about the challenges. So we have both the climate and the weather challenges that actually impact our service delivery, especially the water-based kind of service delivery. And there are many, so I don't want to repeat on them because you know them, issues from pollution and the water scarcity and the climate change and so on, actually especially the high temperature accelerating the evaporation rate. And that's why we have got a dam now in the Sterkfontein Dam up the hill, getting water from KwaZulu-Natal. The reason is that we want to reduce some evaporations there in that storage. But the socio-economic challenges are the most important ones for us actually in terms of crafting our strategies with our stakeholders, including DSI, Department of Water and Sanitation, Department of Agriculture, Department of Energy or Minerals and Energy and so on. So we need actually to think about how can we deal with issues relating to demand and supply. We know the demand is higher than the supply. We have got issues relating to the backlog. People are waiting for water services, they're waiting for sanitation facilities, and also the provision of dignified sanitation, but we have challenges, more of them. But also the issue of non-revenue water is actually a problem. Actually, one of the statistics that has been released was saying 41% of our municipalities, especially the rural municipalities, actually what they have is non-revenue water. They can't really collect funds from that. They can charge for that because water is wasted because of the aging infrastructure. So we also have the issues of poor water quality, especially in rural and small cities or small towns. They're neglected, and there's some of them don't even have engineers and so on. So the problems are actually many, and we need actually to deal with that also from the water and sanitation science and technology. So we also understand and know that the Constitution gives assurance to the people of South Africa, citizens of South Africa, to say you all have the right to water and sanitation as a fundamental human right. Actually states clearly that everyone has a right to have access to sufficient water and also have a dignified sanitation, and including food and so on. So one of the elements or one of the sections in the National Water Act guarantees that the indigent actually will receive at least 6 kiloliters of water, which is 6,000 liters. per month. It's not really enough, but just make them to survive and be able to go on with their lives. And it also further actually talks about water quality, how safe water should be, or we must give them safe drinking water, and it mustn't be too far away, like 200 meters from where you stay, from your house, and also the rate of the water flow should be reasonable as well. The issues relating to availability of water and uses, I talk about the demand actually being higher than supply. Actually, this is a headache for many municipalities and even for equity issues. If you have got this small slice of a cake and you would want actually it to be shared, and using, of course, our own water allocation reforms and so on, it becomes difficult because you also want to balance social issues and economic issues as well. So we know that this gap, according to the trends that we have and the data what we have, it will actually increase. The gap will become bigger and bigger. And we also know from other statistics, from social studies, that even the equality issues in South Africa, or the inequality issues, the gap is also growing and growing. So there are all these kind of challenges that we really have, and we need actually to do something about. And also to give another background, the provision of water services in South Africa, we know that in South Africa, one of the projects that we have just finalized showed that in South Africa, water that's actually metered, that we know how it flows and where it goes, either through the department or through some of the agencies in groundwater as well as surface water. We've got about 4.7 billion cubic meters per annum, which is almost like 15 trillion liters that we have in this country. And it distributed along, and in the end, we lose about, the return flow is about 5 trillion liters, 4.8 billion cubics per annum. However, what is much more important that we have 2 billion cubic meters of water, which also in terms of liters is 2 trillion liters, that we lose as non-revenue water from the best pipes, from leaking pipes and so on. And this is something that we can do to serve and also to ensure that we extend services to other people who are lacking water. And also, we also have 1.8 billion of water, which if we use the right technologies and if the uptake of technology by the municipalities, we can also reuse. We can also ensure that we recycle and so on and so on. So these are some of the things that are dominating our boardrooms and dominating also our strat planning meeting. And in last one of the challenges, I know I've told you a lot of challenges, we in the water sector and ourselves, we are tired of the stories of Hammarskraal, the stories of Makanda, the story of Guyani, the story of Val and so on, because we know that those stories are problems are man-made. If we can fix governance and we take up technologies, we can actually fix this as soon as possible. And of course, get rid of corruption as well. So let me also, my colleague, share with you some of the work that we have done, but it should be based on the fact that the innovation budget in South Africa as well, we are struggling to strike the 1% ceiling. And now we've got a lot of budget cuts. Monies are going to Department of Education for other reasoning as well, which are worthwhile. Of course, we are not really opposing to that, but money that's supposed to research and innovation is actually decreasing. From ourselves in the Water Research Commission, we have actually balanced the R&D and the I&I, or innovation and impact. So you see the line, the blue line is showing that, and the darker blue lines about research itself and development. So we're trying to pull up the innovation trends to go up so that we can balance both research and development and innovation projects or assignments. And that actually help us to make South Africa to be competitive. You can see that when you look at the global trends, our water and the sanitation industry, it's still competitive, looking at the size of our country and also looking at the resources that we really have. And we're thankful for partners like DSI, agriculture, and also the industry for them to work with us so that we continue balancing on that. as the Water Research Commission trends, the graph shows that we have actually been improving in terms of targeting specific kind of technologies and innovation that actually we produce from our projects. So you can see the trend showing that we're increasing. In the previous first 5 years, we produced 106 innovations, and in the past immediate 5 years, about 185. So we are in an upward trend. And these are some of the technology that some of them were using. I'll just give some examples very quickly. I know you don't have much time. And some of the technologies that we have with the AquaDrip for leak detection, as I told, non-revenue water is a problem in this country. And we have worked with our partners and government departments as well to say, how can we really contribute? And we use a tool or an innovation like this one, which is actually fitted in our drip distribution system. And if there's a burst or if there's a leakage, actually it detects it. And it also prompts the shutdown of the flow of water because of the valves that we have put together as well as part of the technology. And even you can also put it in your household as well. If you are away and then there is a geyser actually burst or there's a leakage of it can actually help you to save water and also prevent wastage. That water that actually you save can be given to some of the people who are still waiting for the service delivery. And we are one of the project innovation that we have just talked about recently or produced recently with the University of Joburg. It was the lateral flow immunoassay as well. And this one actually was based on how can people in rural areas or people that are far away from the laboratories actually check the water quality that they really have, especially those that are using that are getting water from the streams or from the springs. So we know that diarrhea and other infectious diseases are a problem. So we said, okay, we can give you some quick tools as well. It's not an excuse of giving them services, but we are saying in the meantime, when they're waiting, they can still actually help themselves. So it actually produces a strip, like how the pregnancy test actually work, if there are actually those bacteria that can be harmful. And that's how actually it works. And another innovation that we produce actually for the poor people as well, or for people who are in rural areas, is about the issues of the emerging pollutants. Now we've got sanitizers, we've got all these other pollutants that are coming that are not yet regulated. So how can actually people themselves actually be able to detect this and be cautious of the water that they are really using? So we have that fluorescence sensor probe, and the probe actually using the light, actually the more intense the light, the more the concentrates of those selected actually chemicals that we have put into the system for them actually to be able to the tool so that they can be able to check. So, and it can also be adjusted for different kind of chemicals that people will be concerned of. And it's actually a global problem because many, even in sanitizers, the other week we were talking about the sanitizers that they're putting in other chemicals that are illegal in sanitizers. So we need actually to be careful about that. And also in terms of the treatment of water and the waste as well, we are looking at that. We have developed this with the University of Cape Town. We call it the eutectic freeze crystallization, like forming ice, but separating the pollutants, and you can harvest the ice, clean water out, and harvest the chemicals on the other side. And then that way you can clean the system if you put it in the in a bigger scale. And you're working with Sasol and Eskom now actually to upscale this kind of this technology, and we're happy actually to continue support that. I think this is one of the project that I think Sepang also was talking about as well. The developments as well. Supporting the rural communities, but using a proven technologies, a membrane technology, put that in a basket or in a container, and people just pour water on top, and then you get clean water at the bottom. Just have a pipe at the bottom, and then you can be able to survive all the pollutants that are there. And I don't know how I'm making, but I think I'm still okay. So in terms of sanitation, Sepang talked much about that. But I think the idea in terms of us working with DSI, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, with GWS and other organizations. The issue is that we want to have a toilet that actually can be utilized and also maybe do more things than just maybe receiving the human waste. That's what you're seeing, talking about the aspiration toilet, where it can also take your body temperature. It can also take the chemicals that are in your waste, and maybe transfer that to a health professional, and then they can analyze what is troubling you or what has got the potential to trouble you. So what is important? Working with DSI and other organizations, we are building the next generation of sanitation and creating the new industry as well, where we can build these toilets as well with other organizations. Bill and Melinda Gates, who are also our funders with DSI. We are part of this global initiative. And we also have worked with some local guys as well. You see the child there who is actually washing hands on top of the basin of the tank of the toilet. You wash hands, that water goes to the tank. From the tank, then you flush the toilet. So that helps in rural areas and schools where people don't have enough water, there's no wastage, then you can do that. And we redesign also the toilets, be attractive and be actually nice. Of course, you need to clean them up as well. So we are working on these issues. I think at Sepang we didn't have time maybe also to talk about these issues. And my slides are stuck a little bit. I don't know what's going on now, but let me just, they're stuck. Yeah. Yeah, okay. The energy, from the energy side, I think Sepang also talked about this as well, saying that we are working with them on implementing the lower head mini hydropower. We have done that first in Bloemwater, and especially with the same service provider, University of Pretoria. Mr. Dyke actually worked with them, and then we partnered with DSI. Now we went to Komadiwa, as you can see, that small house there next to the river, receiving water from the fall, of diverted water coming from the fall, and then we are actually using the natural force, and then we generate energy that people can use for all those purposes that Sepang talked about. But we also have the issues of biogas production, which was also biogas or energy production from a wastewater treatment plant, which actually the previous speaker also talked about. So it's part of what we're also doing, and we've got examples of some of the work that we've worked with other partners, like in Brockerspruit as well, and Ulenkral Biogas. You can go there and check what is really happening. But it makes our waste treatment plants to be carbon and energy neutral as well, and they can use that energy for various purposes as well. So these are the things that we can say we can do as the society or as the working organization. Let me try again. Okay. In conclusion, I hope I didn't take too much of your time. In conclusion, I think it's important for us to know that water is a catalyst of social and economic development, and we are always advocating for one water. This is the same water that we drink, the same water that goes to the bathroom, the same water that we found in our taps, and then we found in waste treatment plants, and then released again into our rivers, and it recycles like again and again. It goes evaporated and then comes back as rain and also as snow or whatever. So we're saying, let's look at all this. The value chain function is important as well, and that assists us to take care, using research and innovation, take care of all these elements. So that's why I say we have to improve our water management for communities so that they can experience the security relating to water, food, and energy. And the dignity in terms of sanitation is important as well. So, but it needs really good governance, it needs science and technologies which can improve the quality and improve the quantity as well, distribution and allocation. These are supposed to be informed by science and technology. And quality and efficiency are important. We can't do otherwise without science and technology. So my last word, we need to improve the uptake and investment in tech and innovation. There is actually a big problem as far as that is concerned. We end up actually using these innovations taken up by other people in other countries, the Singaporean and others, and they improve on that. They bring this back to us and we pay a big price, because in South Africa, we've got a very, very low appetite of uptake of these innovations. but I hope we will be fine. Thank you so much for the opportunity you have given me to share with what we do in the Water Research Commission.
Thank you very much for that very interesting and thought-provoking talk. To all our panelists or all our speakers, can I please ask that you put on your camera so that we can now go into the question and answer session that I will be leading for us. And I would also like those that are attending the meeting to send through your questions and to us so that and who you are addressing it to in the panel. So to start off, I would like to give the opportunity to Dr. Pradesh Rampashat, just to give us a bit of how the SACNAS sees the importance of this and yeah, just a bit of background in this area. Pradesh.
Oh, thank you so much, Chair, for allowing me this opportunity. I would just like to speak specifically on the Continuing Professional Development Content Development Program and thereafter touch on district development. To me, it's important that we as scientists realize there are opportunities out there to address the service delivery challenges, but we need to ask ourselves, what are we missing? What do we need to do? How do we start to step into the space? Now, in terms of the continuing professional development, we know this is a lifelong learning program, and the question we ask ourselves, is the content of our continuing professional development interventions adequate? Is it relevant? Is it able to assist us reach out? For South Africa to be truly competitive in a worldwide scientific community, it needs to ensure the training of our scientists meets and exceeds the international standards. In addition to exposure and continuous training they also receive throughout their careers, it must prepare them adequately for a changing scientific world. Now, if you look at a scientist graduating at age 25, how prepared is the scientist for a changing world at age 45 or 60? Aspects of big data, fourth industrial revolution are relevant today, but how well equipped are we to embrace this and ensure incorporation into our scientific work? Now, as you're aware, Professor, SACNAS has created the Continuing Professional Development Program. It was launched in 2017, and to date, about 1/3 of our registered scientists are actively involved in it, and a total of 1,900 events have been validated so far. Now, in terms of continuing professional development, SACNAS aligns itself to a model of competent scientists, which is now bringing the topic home. Appropriate training at the right level, adequate and relevant work experience, well-developed communication skills, strategic and management skills, ethical behavior and aware of legislation, and high attention to detail and quality of work. What am I saying to you, Chair? A competent scientist in all these aspects to be able to deliver in terms of assisting our communities. Now, the launch of the DSR annual report, I was invited yesterday to attend it. One of the very important points brought up when they were discussing the issue of this new variant of the virus that is currently going around. They spoke specifically around communication. So this subject matter is becoming very important. How well developed are we as communicators in science and communicating to our communities, communicating to people out there who need to know what science can do to assist them and help them. Now, from a SACNAS perspective, we have about 50 voluntary associations aligned to SACNAS. And of course, these associations are at different levels in terms of delivery of the continuing professional development content. There are some gaps. We are aware of that. And the next stage going forward from a SACNAS perspective is to address these gaps. And this is where our scientific community needs to step in, assist and guide SACNAS as to where should we train our scientists? What are the skills that our scientists need to ensure that opportunities are taken up to address service delivery challenges? Very briefly, Chair, the district development was very well unpacked by Mr. Shipang Musea. And I must say that in terms of district development, we speak about, is there adequate, safe drinking water for consumption? And Professor Lepezi touched on this beautifully. So now, but we as a scientific community, we need to ask ourselves the question, how are we positioned to assist these communities? The focus here needs to be on women, youth, people with disabilities, and indigent communities. How can the scientific community get involved and make a difference? We, as a scientific community, need to stand up and get involved. How do we bring the excellent science we discovered here today to the communities out there? Chair, thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words.
Thank you very much for those very important words. And I would like to go over to Mr. Musia and ask him, is there a specific plan to empower the scientific community to assist in district development?
Thank you very much, Professor. I think the challenge is clear that we all acknowledge that the science community has got a critical role to play in applying technology and innovation to address socio-economic problems. And I think it has been mentioned that to achieve inclusivity, because we've got unemployment, scientists have got a role. To achieve economic participation, and create opportunities through innovation for income, scientists have got a role. So these challenges are at a community level in the district, and the Decadal Plan, which is the Department of Science Innovation's 10-year plan of how we can drive a whole of society, a whole of government approach, brings this challenge right at the doorstep of scientists. So the guiding framework, I think, is created, is on the table, which is the Decadal Plan. So how do we now create an enabling environment from a research perspective, from a technology demonstration point of view, to create inclusion, to create income, to address leaks, to look at a new set of toilets, the next generation of non-sewered sanitation in schools. So we all have a role, but the Decadal Plan and the STI white paper, which is the white paper from the Department of Science and Innovation, brings that and invite all the SACNAS community to come on board.
Thank you very much for that. I would like to ask Professor Mampwele. Now, South Africa is more than 80% electrified, but there are challenges in ensuring accessibility of electricity in outlying areas due to costs related to ensuring grid electricity reaches these areas. Now, off-grid solutions are being used. However, what is your comment on ensuring that off-grid electricity does reach these communities, and how can South Africa fast track this?
Thank you so much. That's a good one. I think the first thing that we need to do is to ensure that when we do off-grid solutions, we do them properly. So proper system sizing, because what we have seen in the past is that people start to do off-grid solutions that are not properly sized, and that kinds of create stigma around these off-grid solutions, such as your solar PV systems and things like that. So if you're doing it for a community, for instance, you need to ensure that that system is properly sized. The second issue that I think we need to focus a lot on is technology localization. There's quite a number of technologies that are being created within the DSI funded programs, the various programs that the department is funding, that can provide very good solutions at off-grid level. We have got wind turbines that are being designed and developed in South Africa that are very efficient. We've got some solar PV systems, like, for instance, Nelson Mandela University is busy finalizing a design of a hybrid concentrator photovoltaic system Those can be used in off-grid solutions, but it boils down to proper system sizing, whether you're doing it at household level or whether you're doing it for business development level to stimulate economic growth in the particular area, or whether you're doing it as a micro or mini grid to supply electricity to the various households. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. I'd like to ask Professor Lepatsi a question. So what is the national rollout plan for the fluorescent sensor probe for rural communities? And are communities aware where and how to report problems with water supply to the local municipalities? This speaks to an empowered community. So how are we actually empowering the community to be aware of this? So if you can address that question, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. It's a very good question that you have asked. And the Department of Water and Sanitation have got different offices in different provinces, sometimes even different district municipalities in some cases. And that's where people actually can write or call or maybe report the challenge that they have. But I'm not actually guaranteeing that they will have solutions. But anyway, they can report those challenges that they see or that they experience in those offices. And there is also a Department of Environmental Affairs as well. Like these days, they are called Department of Environmental Forestry and Fisheries, something like that. So DEF. So they can do that as well because they are also in charge of the quality of the pollution in the environment, so they can assist as far as that is concerned. And there are also different kind of programs that you are working with different stakeholders, both the non-profit and also government programs like the citizen science, programs like Adopt the River or Adopt the Water Resource. So, and if you have got, or if somebody organized the communities where they live, they can monitor using less scientific means, where they just check the biological diversity of their rivers or their water systems, and then they can come up with very acceptable, global accepted results. And there is an app or where this data actually can be accumulated and can be utilized for decision making. So as the Water Research Commission, we develop this kind of program, easy to use, like citizen science, mini-SARS, we call it a mini-SARS, and also support different kind of initiatives that government and other communities actually have, so that they can self-help or they can do something for themselves. But they need actually to be empowered because you need a certain kind of budget for them to buy certain kind of equipment, and the DAWARC cannot be able to fund all of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. We've received a question from Velu, and he says that when it comes to sustainability solutions, what kind of tests do you put them against to ensure long-term sustainability? As oh, correctly, just let me just see where I've got that. Oh, sorry, there we are. As in to make sure we won't be solving worse problems due to such solutions in the future. So I would like to pose this question to all three of the speakers. We can start off with our first speaker, Mr. Musia, and then go down the line. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. That's a very important question, because the technologies that are demonstrated have to be sustainable and we have to scale them up, but they have to be context sensitive. So if we are doing 3D printing in human settlements, A sustainability question will be the implications of printing homes at the expense maybe of jobs, or maybe a cost benefits comparison if you were to do an analysis of how much does it cost to build a house traditionally, where you've got a contractor, you don't have a technology that is actually doing the printing, and the speed of printing and delivering the houses. So we are looking at how we can set up these models. And when I say it's context specific, sometimes technologies, because there's social technical systems that are involved. So you've got the cultural issues, you've got the societal issues, you've got acceptance and cultural issues that you have to take into account. So we are also trying to learn these socio-technical systems so that we can build sustainability around them. Involvement of local communities is very key for sustainability. If the community does not have buy-in, it is not going to fly. Policy implications, if policies are pulling the other direction and the technology does not have a regulatory environment that makes it possible for the technology to be demonstrated, be it a policy sandbox or whatever the case may be, policy instruments are part of instruments that we could look at from a sustainability point of view. Localization, where technology comes from outside, how do we build local capability in the value chain, in support and maintenance in the long term? Thank you.
Thank you. Professor Mamkweli.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to add, there are issues around continuous monitoring and evaluation, because in most cases we're using IP that we're putting out there for the first time. There is a need for continuous monitoring and evaluation. That's why in our case we have students and interns working on the project itself for the next 3 years, and then afterwards, then they will be able to generate various reports on various aspects of the project. Proper market analysis for the businesses that are involved with the technologies or the installation, and market penetration, proper market penetration for their products. That has got to do with the sustainability of the business. After we exit, so in our case, we're implementing a project for 3 years, and during that time, we will be building some reserves for the business that will be involved, with the young business, for the young people's business that will be involved in the project. The proper training of the people that are involved in the project in various aspects, the training on the technical side of things, training on the business side of things, is if it's got to do with the business, that's quite important. Over and above that, the previous speaker talked about the community involvement and community acceptance of the projects. That's very key. That's why in our case, the first thing that we're doing is we've already done stakeholder engagement, and then we're going to be doing a kickoff with the Deputy Minister, where he says to the people, here is the infrastructure that we're bringing to you as the community. Please look after it, because it's going to change, to help you change the socioeconomic condition in the region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then I would also like to ask Professor Lepatsi, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, I think the previous actually respondents actually responded on these issues. The issues of working with the policy makers or decision makers is very, very important, so that they understand the science and technology base, which informs what we are actually proposing, or what the technology is all about. So once they understand that, they embrace that, they can be able to include that in their own practices, in their own policies, and in the daily business of what they do. And ourselves work with DWS. They're part of our project in terms of evaluating the project and the reference group meetings, and even contributing the final report. so that they can take up that knowledge and then they use it wherever actually is really needed. But we know that there are many other challenges. You need budgets and so on and so on for them actually to be able to do that, and also to convince their other colleagues as well. So we also have an example of this mini hydropower project as well, the one that we did with Bloem Water. They are using that. So they've actually cut off electricity supply from Eskom. They use that to electrify their own offices and also electrify their own treatment plants. So which is actually good because it's sustainable, they maintain it. They are actually ensuring that they improve the technologies as they go, which is actually good. We expect that actually to happen also in Kwamadiba as well, that the local government there and communities around, they can come around there so that when DSI and ourselves in the University of Pretoria were not there, they can take it up and do many other things with that because they've tested and they've seen the benefits of those kind of technologies. In Limpopo, we have got the Muse project that we have, which is multiple uses of water, which we've implemented with the African Development Bank, where people actually tapped in their own local resources, the springs on top of the mountains, and then we help them to develop structures themselves. They go out, they buy pipes, they get engineers, they get local people to work in those kind of projects, and they supply water to their own homes. So we leave them empowered. We tell them how to manage pressure, how to test the quality of water, and that's the only source of water that they have. They need, and if they've got help, they need help, they call us or they call local people actually to help them. So those projects are, and they've proved to be sustainable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, we need to start wrapping up. I would like to just make a final comment and then have a very short response to this. Is that from your presentations today, we've heard that there are lots of excellent research projects that have been rolled out. And the successes of these projects and also empowering the community. But this seems to be very slow, this rollout. What would you ascribe it to and how? What do you think is the solution to this? We do know that there is there must be more money should actually be given to research and development because it is less than 1% of the GDP. And we've seen this with other countries where it's much more successful with the research. But, you know, we are really facing a lot of challenges and there's really good suggestions, but how are we going to prioritize on these? And we've heard about the one-stop project as well as a possibility or solution to this that was given by Mr. Musia. But is there anything else you'd like to say? But very briefly, thank you very much.
Yes, no, thank you, Professor. I think society, the whole of society, civil sector, your academia and NGOs and universities, everyone must be able to participate in the national system of innovation so we can drive this momentum. But also in doing that, we have to address skills, where SMMEs can have innovation funding, but also where industry can work with academia. We have to address governance, how at a national level, ministers, politicians, or even industry associations, they drive and champion innovation themselves. We have to set up processes for budgeting, municipalities to budget for innovation, provincial government departments to have budget for innovation, and also we have to address the issue around the networks. How do we create an ecosystem beyond the traditional players who have been universities driving innovation, but cooperatives themselves, they are agents of change and they can drive innovation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this. Professor Lepatsi, is there something you would like to add to that?
Yeah, in the same vein, I think it is important that as a science organization, we continue to be patient and work with SMMEs, and that will actually help us. You said I must start my video. Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, so that we can continue supporting the SMMEs. We have tried it in the Eastern Cape. We had a project called the sanitation or franchising sanitation and water for service delivery. And we had different SMMEs actually that were involved. So they could take it up and take it to rural schools, but wanting the Department of Education, basic education also, to give them projects and also fund them. So we need partners to be able to come on board and support the deployment of these kind of innovations. I read in one of the articles the other time when somebody actually wrote that usually when we have got innovations that are developed by the public organizations, usually the big companies are reluctant to take them up because they think everybody can claim ownership because it's actually developed by the taxpayers. But I don't know whether that's the same in South Africa, but we also have that problem. We have, as I said, we have got about 106 innovations, and the DAWARS can facilitate the taking up of those innovations by the public. But we are not seeing that kind of uptake. But people outside, the international organization, they're sniffing around. They take some of this innovation and they develop them. So those are some of the issues. And financing of these innovations is also very important. You talked about it as well, that we cannot solve it, but I think we need public sector actually to come on board and take up these innovations. And us as the research organization, we can only be catalysts and assist them to do a cheaper way of innovating on this because we are a public organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. We've come to the end of the session. I'd once again like to thank our speakers for their great and wonderful presentations. It's given us a lot of food for thought. I'd like to also thank our people that have also logged in and listened to us, our audience. I think we could really discuss this much further. It's really a very interesting and as I've said already, a thought-provoking topic to speak about. I would just also remain to tell you that the talks will be made available on the SACNAS website, the presentations, and we thank the presenters for making them available, as well as the recordings. I thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.